Aloha, my love. Welcome back. If you're returning, a warm welcome to the herd. If you are new here, either way, I want to let you know how grateful I am that you have found your way here. And today we are continuing part 2 of the conversation we started, the transmission that we started in part 1 of the 2026 Fire Horse Codes. And so if you did not see that video or want to relive the magic, I will link that for you down below. Otherwise, I want to really dive in specifically today to the Fire Horse archetype, which, by the way, I want to be crystal clear, is my own system, my own creation. Based on, I do have a rich background in the healing arts and traditional Chinese veterinary medicine, 5 elements and more. And over the years, I have developed or downloaded, if you will, my own system around how we as individuals, both 2-legged and 4, so this applies to humans and horses and small animals, how we individually are wired to channel energy. And so I do feel like my background in the acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine gives me that really powerful and solid, rock solid foundation that I am expanding on and, coming from. But again, I just want to be clear that what I'm going to be talking about today is based on my own system when I'm referring specifically to the Fire Horse archetype, okay? The energetic archetypes. The more sciencey stuff that I'm bringing in may overlap with the 5 elements, but anyway, I just felt called to share that. So let's talk a little bit more about the Fire Horse archetype. And I dug this up from when I used to be a renegade vet, which I did, in case you're new to me, for around 2 decades in sunny Florida, horse capital of the world, Marion County, and was blessed to work with hundreds and hundreds of horses and their humans using acupuncture and herbs and chiropractic and more. Anyway, a lot of my work was based on the 5 elements, and as you can see here, this chart, don't worry about the numbers, I just want you to get a visual excuse me, the fire, the earth, the metal, the water, and the wood. So at the top we have the fire, and so the archetype system that I downloaded based on the 5 elements, again, that is my own, and the way the individual is wired to channel energy, which, by the way, is not set in stone. So I just want to be clear and take a moment to address that every single one of us has all 5 elements. Similar to, for example, with the zodiac, right? Like all 12 signs, we all have different aspects of ourselves. It's just depending on different things when we were born, what our upbringing was, environment, all the things, right? There is going to be 1 or 2 of the elements that stands out more, that is more predominant, that is stronger. So that being said, just know that we all have this, all horses have all 5 elements, just 1 or 2 of them are often primary, and it can change depending on the season or cycle that you're in, and even like the environment you're in, like who you are around, who you feel safe with. Certain aspects may come out stronger or not so strong, right? Depending on how safe you feel. So yeah, that I just felt like I wanted to share that. So we're talking about here the Fire Horse. So when we use these elements, for me, the archetypes are going to be the Fire Horse, the Earth Horse, the Metal Horse, or the Wind Horse, the Water Horse, and the Wood Horse. Okay, and the Fire Horse, I want to take a moment and talk a little about like her personality, her constitution. And maybe you might see yourself in this, you might see a friend, a horse that you have or know. And so that's what I want to kind of get you a feel for. And I also want to say, as I did mention in part 1, that it doesn't matter what your sign is. Like, you don't have to be a fire horse, okay, to benefit from what I'm going to be teaching you and to benefit from the cosmic vibes that are going to be happening in the new year. Okay, it is all just energetic potential. You at the end, my love, have free will, and you get to choose what you're creating and how you channel the energies. And that is why I think it's so empowering to know how you're wired to do that, and how you can maybe lean into other approaches depending on what's going on, right? Giving you more tools and skills and awareness. Okay, so the fire horse for me, and this does overlap with 5 elements in Chinese medicine, is going to be sort of that nervous, kind of social butterfly energy. Very, very much thrives on connection. I would call them heart connectors and horizontal channels. They're the ones who really don't like to be alone, and don't do well being on their own, right? So if that is your primary element, it may be a growth edge for you to perhaps, spend more time alone, or be alone with yourself, right? And get comfortable with that if that's something you're not comfortable with. The other piece around the fire horse is that her emotions are very, very intense. Okay, they can really be, it's like that, that classical example of, the woman who gets hysterical, right? Like, the emotions for the fire horse can be super intense. And this is where, as a collective, regardless of what your constitution or sign or element is, learning how to really manage and master your emotions without doing a bypass in the new year is going to become even more important. Okay, so very much heart-centered, and someone or an individual who wants to really, who like often lets their emotions lead or run the show. Okay, when they're not grounded, right? There's that, when you're imbalanced, or your shadow side, when they're not grounded, when their shadow side is maybe showing, they're going to experience the anxiety, the nervousness, that scattered energy, being all over the place, again, the social butterfly, and really just having to kind of connect with others to understand themselves better and relate to themselves better, which is not a bad thing. And we also want to learn to know ourselves, right? Our sovereign selves, and restore that self-sovereignty. So what else can I tell you about the fire horse in terms of the personality? I think that is, like, in a nutshell, the horse image that comes to mind for me is going to be like that high-strung, nervous, thoroughbred, chestnut filly, okay, as an example. Or that really emotional, nervous show horse or performance horse. And they don't have to be a chestnut, but the red color is associated with fire. So, like, they don't all read the book. So, for example, Indigo, my beloved here behind me, he's a black Arabian gelding, and he does happen to be a dark horse, which is the water element as his primary, and he happens to also be black or dark, which is part of the water element and the dark horse, but they don't have to be a black horse, and you don't have to be a brunette to be a water horse or have that constitution be your primary element. Hope that makes sense, all right? Okay, next, I'm going to take you a little deeper here because I think this is really, really empowering to know. So in this fire element, you can see it's the only one that's divided into 4 slices, right? The rest are just the halves. And so with the fire element, we actually have 4 organ systems that are associated. And now we're going into the 5 element more so for you. And so as you may or may not be able to see this here, but we have the small intestine, the heart, the triple heater, and the pericardium. So I want to go into each one of those and kind of explain again how you may be asked or invited to use and lean into and work with and connect with your body in this way, okay? Because that's the other piece about the fire horse codes that we touched on in part 1, about that sort of alchemy in action or embodiment in action. The connection to our bodies is going to be so important in terms of the grounding, in terms of, you know, like, so you're not so scattered, right? If that is something that you deal with or not, the emotions, all of that, right? That is going to be so critical. So let's take each one of those 4 quarters and go a little bit deeper. So we already mentioned the heart, right? The heart, the very, you know, the heart-centered fire horse, the one who really in many ways leads with love, right? And her emotions. And so this is a beautiful thing, something we can all like learn to do more, right? And so that heart piece is beautiful. And if you bring in the heart protector, which is the pericardium, the lining that covers the heart, on a physical level, obviously it's protecting and covering the heart. But so many of us, you know, myself included, I mean, if you're human, I think at some point in your life you've experienced pain or loss or heartache or heartbreak. And what we do is, and this is normal, like we begin sort of building this energetic wall or barrier or armor around our hearts, right? Because we don't want to feel that hurt again. We don't want to feel that heartache again. And so we build this wall around us. And the sad part about that, the hard part about that, is that when we do that, we may be protecting ourselves from, for example, getting hurt again, but then we're also protecting ourselves from experiencing, say, joy or love or bliss, okay? Because it's going to block it, that depending on the thickness of your wall, of your heart wall or armor, it's going to block shit out, right? And it's not necessarily like selective. You can't like only let in joy and then not let in, or let in pain, right? In order to experience the full human experience, when your heart is open and doesn't have layers and layers of protection or armor, right, you can feel both. You get to feel both sides of the coin. That's the wholeness. When we want to only feel the good things, that toxic positivity that I've talked about in past videos, right, that's doing a bypass. That's literally, it's toxic, right, because you're not embracing the wholeness of yourself. There's both sides of the coin. That coin has a head and a tail, and it's still a coin, right? So whatever you're feeling in the moment, you're still whole, you're still enough, you're still worthy, you're still human, right? And it doesn't mean we don't get to choose to move and dance with those energies in a way that serves us, in a way that helps us feel better, in a way that raises our vibration. We still get to do that. But you can do it in a way, and preferably want to do it in a way where you're not doing that bypass. Okay, so we talked about the heart and the heart protector there for the first 2 quadrants. Now let's talk about the small intestine. The small intestine is really, really important for decision making, okay? And so if you're someone who has trouble making decisions, and I used to be, I can still be sometimes, but like really like super indecisive, like debilitatingly indecisive, hanging out on the fence so long the butt hurt, right? And so learning how to make decisions and trust yourself in the process, trusting that you have your back, trusting that the universe has your back, is a skill, and it does take practice, like anything else. And so what I can say is all of these fire horse codes and energies coming in, and you know, if we're being honest, all of the changes we've been going through, you know, in recent years with the crazy world and the madness in the world, are inviting us to do all of these things. It's only that this is going to be kind of amplified in 2026. So, excuse me. So the ability to make decisions and do it in a way where you're aligned with your soul, aligned with your truth, and that you have your back, you trust yourself to make the decisions, and you also trust that the universe has your back along the way, right? And so there, it's going to be important to be connected to something greater than yourself, as well as being anchored AF in who you are and your values and all the things. Okay, so those are going to be really, really important practices, or you know, areas to grow in, right? Little growth edges. The final piece I want to talk about is that triple heater. And the triple heater in Chinese medicine, we have something called the triple heater, or triple burner: the upper burner, the middle burner, and the lower burner. The body's divided into 3 parts. It specifically, and so the triple heater includes all 3, but it specifically is focused on the hormones, the hormonal system as a whole. Whether it's your thyroid, whether it's your stress hormones like cortisol, whether it is your sex hormones, the estrogen, the progesterone, the testosterone, all the things regardless of gender. And so the hormones in general are going to be, I feel, a primary concern to learn how to balance your hormones. And for me, the root, or I don't know if that's the right word, but the one that I think is most important because it affects everything else, is going to be learning how to navigate and manage your stress, because that affects everything else. When you're not able to manage your stress, you produce excess cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and that just throws everything else out of whack. And again, it's all connected, chicken or the egg, all the things. Like, I don't want to get into a whole, you know, biology class. And honestly, there's a part of me that I'm not sure I can remember all the moving pieces, though I have studied it in the past. But what I do want to say is, you know, balancing your hormones and making sure that you have the support, the awareness, the tools to balance and navigate stress as easeful and graceful as possible. And for me, that directly relates to and corresponds to the nervous system, and learning how to regulate and train your nervous system to not be in flight or fright or freeze or fawn, to not be in that sympathetic survival mode state, which is when you're going to be releasing all that excess cortisol. Hope that makes sense. And so when you can learn to do that, you will actually indirectly be balancing your cortisol and your hormones. And just as a side note, something that I've been so excited about, and I'm in the middle at the time of recording this video of a 5-day mini course, which depending on when you're seeing it, there's still time to join, but called From Burnout to Brilliance. And I was inspired to host this mini course because I have noticed for myself in upping my game this past year around not only my nervous system regulation and sacred somatics and weaving in ancient wisdom and of course the medicine of the horse, I have noticed that the happy side effects have included sleeping better. Like I no longer have, now for 3 full moon cycles, don't have full moon insomnia, and I've had that for like years. Okay, I am sleeping like a baby. I have way more energy and focus and clarity. Even and I'm embarrassed a little bit to say this, but my cortisol belly has gone down. You know, like there's just been so many happy side effects that I wasn't focused on. I was doing the work that I did because of navigating some deeply personal, challenging times where a lot of fear and anxiety and emotional stuff. I was moving through a lot of emotional stuff, and that is the reason that I upped my game in that arena. And as a result of implementing my new practices and developing what or taking it honestly to the next level, something that I call somasize, with mindful movement, mantras, breath work, spiritual technology, and the medicine of the horse, and of course infusing ancient wisdom as well. The shifts, quite honestly, have been life-changing for me. And by the way, again, in case you're new to me, I am 61 at the time of making this video, and so the changes that I have felt have been profound. Oh, the other one I forgot to mention is even like the body. I had like little aches and pains, nagging, niggling, you know, things that I was telling myself, oh, I'm just getting older, whatever. And I'm someone who's pretty active, you know, doing yoga and stretching and spending time with, you know, indigo every day. And, you know, I have like body love practices and things, but I have to say that the work that I've been doing, especially for the body pieces, I have to say the inherited, like clearing ancestral and generational patterns and ancestral pain from my body, which is something I was drawn to do intuitively. Like those pieces are dissolving and melting and going away. And I, you know, at one point I really thought like, oh, I'm just getting older. This is just, you know, going to be part of the norm. And so I'm here to say, like, it doesn't have to be, right? We can reverse age. Actually, I have a new audio coming out where I'm going to create that you can do to help you reverse age while you sleep. Let me know if you, or stay tuned for that. But anyway, yeah, so in a nutshell, just the quick recap, we have the heart and the pericardium, we have the small intestine, and we have the triple heater, which are all part of the fire element in Chinese medicine. And so the fire horse codes, as I am hearing them and having them download, mean that these are the areas, these are the energies, the potential energies that we are going to be asked to deepen our practice. Okay, everything is always an opportunity, right? Every challenge, every obstacle is an opportunity to tap into our power and our growth and our expansion at the next level. So that is what I have for you in terms of the fire horse codes and the fire horse archetype for 2026. The last piece I'll say to bring this all together with the archetype, and again I did touch on this in part 1, but is the alchemy piece. Like again, if there are like 2 or 3 words to summarize the essence of what I feel 2026 is bringing us in terms of potential energies to play with and channel, that is alchemy in action. because the action piece, the fire piece, is going to be key in learning how to take aligned action and bold action, and to alchemize, you know, your fears, your doubts, your resistance along the way, right? And it is in taking the aligned action and practicing moving through all of those energies and regulating your nervous system and recalibrating your nervous system along the way to your next level identity and your next level self and your next level success in all the ways. That is really going to be the essence of what I think we're going to be playing with and dancing with in 2026. And so the last thing I'm going to leave you with, and I truly hope and intend and trust that you found value in this video today, and I'm going to ask you to, if you did and you're still here, to please like and follow and subscribe if you haven't already, and share the love with someone that you know would be interested. But I want to let you know that I've got something in the works right now where, if you're really resonating with the idea of the alchemy in action and implementing all of these pieces I talked about, these fire horse codes, and you really would like to go deeper in learning how to do this with my personal brand of magic, again, using the medicine of the horse, using ancient wisdom and sacred somatics. If this is something that interests you, I am working on right now behind the scenes a program for 2026. The name I keep going back and forth on, but it has to do with the fire horse codes. And if this is something, and flame riders, and if you are wanting to, like, you know, be on the VIP wait list to get notified as soon as that opens up for all of the early bird, you know, perks and pricing and things, definitely put your name on the list down below so that you can stay in the loop and be the first one to know and get in on that. Otherwise, I am going to let you go. I am so excited and grateful you joined me here today. And with that, ciao for now. I love you. Namaste. Let's get him in the picture for the end. Bye.